You can watch us live on these platforms: Apple, Roku, Facebook, and Android devices. You can also watch us live on OGTV website, www.ogtv.com.ng/live, or email info@ogtv.com.ng. Business and commercial activities were for many hours disrupted as hoodlums hijacked a peaceful protest of some customers of a commercial bank in Ashiro area of Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. The customers allegedly faulted the decision of the management of the bank to pay them in rough old Naira notes instead of the mint notes being currently exchanged at this period. Fowora Adeson has more on this story.
Pockets of riots at a bank premises at Ashiro, which later spread to Shakpon area before peace was restored by the officers and men of Nigerian police led by Mr. Larry Bankole, the Commissioner of Police, Ogun State Command.
4 o'clock láti máa jí wa, so àdẹ̀dẹ̀ ibẹ̀ la wọ́n sọ pé kò sówó, wọn security náà sọ fún wa pé kò sówó pé a lè rí owó gbà ní.
We were at the bank since 4 a.m. After staying for hours, we were told there was no money. In the process, a bullion van drove in with the belief that new notes were brought into the bank, only to be paid with muffled money. That was when some miscreants reacted.
The rioters regrouped at junctions which included Ake, Adaton, Agoba, Imo, Ijeja, and the Yano mortuary, destroying every object on site, including billboards. Security operatives later reinforced to curtail the spread of the riot as hoodlums hijacked the Itato-Mide protest, taking it to dangerous dimensions. Some residents who spoke with OGTV crew said the riot was avoidable.
The two must go parallel. As you are encouraging the new note by printing it out, the old notes should be spent gradually. Then the bank will now be reducing. They will stop printing the old note, printing the new note. Why the old will be used until it's gone to extinction.
This issue of money should be seriously looked into. Even if they are going to be taking money to individual houses to change for them, or make sure that they can record when they give them money and book them in the bank accounts, I think they should do it. Any measure that can alleviate the suffering of the people is necessary now, so as not to affect the election, because this election coming in in February 25 and March 11 is going to be a defining election for the country.
According to them, there is need to take a fresher look at the currency swap policy, which poses grave danger to the gains of Nigerian democracy. Fowora Adeson, OGTV News.
Ogun State Governor Prince Abeokuta has expressed dissatisfaction with the tensed situation witnessed in Abeokuta, the state capital, due to frustration being experienced by residents at various banks over shortage of the redesigned Naira denominations. The governor made this known at the statutory meeting of the State Council of Obas held at the Obas Complex, Okemoso, Abeokuta. Elizabeth Eson reports.
Statutory meeting of the Ogun State Council of Obas is a gathering of all monarchs in the state who converged to deliberate on issues affecting them, their subjects and communities, which will be presented to the government for consideration and implementation. The first in the year 2023 served as an avenue for the governor, Prince Abeokuta, to express his dissatisfaction on the current situation in the country as regards the scarcity of the redesigned Naira, which made residents of the state took to the streets.
The situation as it's unfolding is highly regrettable and very unfortunate. We do not have a doubt that this CBN's policy is a well thought out policy that is in line with the responsibilities and the rights that the CBN has in regulating the amount of money in supply and the design of currency when they choose to do so. But we have seen in the last few days that the problem with this policy is its implementation.
President Abeokuta therefore appealed to the monarchs to intensify efforts at pacifying their subjects in their different communities, as he believes very soon, following the governor's meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari, the situation will be resolved.
We have rightly observed that appears as if the volume of currency that has been withdrawn from circulation because of the terminal date that was prescribed has not been replaced with an appreciable volume of currency of the new notes. That appears to be what the problem is. There's a mismatch between what has been withdrawn and what has been supplied. We have been given assurances by Mr. President and the Central Bank that they will be working assiduously to ensure that enough currency is pushed out to meet the supply and expectations of our people.
Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs in the state, Honorable Ganiu Amzat, commended the governor for his support to the plight of traditional institutions in the state.
His Excellency does not just have deep respect for and concern about the well-being of our royal fathers, but passionately committed in observing the principles of good governance in managing the affairs of the traditional institution.
Chairman, Ogun State Council of Obas, the Akarigbo and Paramount ruler of Remo Land, Oba Babatunde Ajayi, appreciated the efforts of the governor for making the state a safe haven for all.
I can assure you that before our next meeting, all the necessary amendments and adjustment will have been laid before the House of Assembly, and I can assure you that this government that we have will sign the law.
The governor also availed himself the opportunity to seek for their blessings at the poll in the forthcoming elections, as the monarchs, through their representatives from Ijebu, Egba, Yewa, as well as the representative of the Awujale and Paramount ruler of Ijebu Land, Oba Sikiru Kayode Adetono, the Orimolusi of Ijebu Igbo, Oba Lawrence Adebajo applauded the governor for the laudable achievements across the state, promising to support his ambition. Elizabeth Esson, OGTV News.
Hundreds of protesting Edo State civil society organizations, EDOSCO, have shut the Central Bank of Nigeria, Benin branch in Edo State, over the scarcity of fuel and new Naira notes. The protesters also made the dualized and ever-busy Akpakpava Road in Benin, where the CBN's branch is located near the popular Ring Road, impossible to commuters. Many of them groaned and opted for alternative routes. EDOSCO members who were armed with placards and banners bearing anti-CBN inscriptions and chanting anti-government songs declared they would continue with the peaceful protest until the needful was done. One of the EDOSCO's leaders, Comrade Omobudiago, called on the CBN to quickly make the new Naira notes available to end the suffering of Nigerians. Meanwhile, a meeting between the President Buhari and state governors earlier scheduled for Tuesday has been cancelled. President Buhari was to meet with the governors to discuss, among other things, the nationwide crisis trailing the Central Bank of Nigeria's new Naira policy. The cancelled meeting comes only 4 days after the President met with the governors elected on the platform of the All Progressives Congress, after which he appealed to Nigerians to give him 7 days to resolve the crisis. Although no reasons were given for the cancellation of Tuesday's meeting, it was agreed that no major decision could be taken until the end of the 7-day window given by the President last Friday. Buhari briefly met behind closed doors with the chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum, Aminu Tambuwal of Sokoto State, the chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, Abubakar Bagudu of Kebbi State, the Central Bank Governor, Godwin Emefiele, and the chairman, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Abdul Rashid Bawa. Others present were the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, and the President's Chief of Staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari. The federal government has blasted some opposition parties for rushing to court for an injunction to restrain President Muhammadu Buhari and Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, from extending the February 10 deadline for cash swap. It accused the parties of playing a political game with the redesign of the Naira, claiming the scrupulous parties were against any action that could reduce the pains being experienced by Nigerians. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, took stripes at the affected opposition parties at the 23rd PMB Administration Scorecard Series in Abuja. He assured Nigerians that the federal government was mindful of the inconveniences currently being endured by citizens as a result of fuel supply disruptions and the recent redesigning of some Naira notes. The chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, on Tuesday attended a meeting with the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele. Yakubu was accompanied by 11 national commissioners. In his address, the INEC chairman noted that the meeting was because of the Apex Bank's unique role in the conduct of elections. However, this meeting is particularly focused on the recent cash withdrawal policy of the CBN. In November 2022, Emefiele unveiled the redesigned 200 Naira, 500 Naira, 1,000 Naira, restated its plans to end the circulation of the old notes by January 31, 2023. It, however, extended the deadline to February 10. The INEC boss said the commission was challenged by this policy, as there exist lots of services the commission must render with cash. According to him, most of the logistics services that will be needed in the elections will be rendered by the unbanked and will rely on cash payment. Yakubu added that it was in the meeting to discuss with the CBN governor about how best to address the situation. In his response, Emefiele restated the CBN's long-standing support for INEC, adding that it would continue to do so. He assured the commission that because of the premium the CBN placed on the elections, the CBN would make whatever was needed available for INEC to pay for its logistics. Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, has given reasons it will not call out workers to protest ongoing fuel crisis across the country. Rather, it challenged Nigerians to use their PVCs to choose a responsive government to make lives more meaningful. President of NLC, Ayuba Waba, who spoke in Lagos, said NLC was tired of fighting for price reduction anytime there was petroleum products price hikes, lamenting that it has been a vicious cycle in the past 30 years. Speaking to a cross-section of journalists, he said consistently NLC has been the only organization engaged in this issue for the past 30 years. He said NLC was ready to engage the government on fixing refineries and also allowing enabling environment for other key players to build refineries. Meanwhile, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria has described as fake the reports that its over 30,000 members will be shutting down their filling stations. The National Controller Operations, IPMAN, Mike Osatuyi, said the memo to members, which emanated from the chairman, IPMAN, Borno's chapter, Mohammed Kuluwa, earlier on Tuesday, asking all its members in the state to suspend services, was a wrong move. Kuluwa had earlier directed that IPMAN members in Borno State should suspend ordering products from source until further notice. The Ogun State Governor, Prince Dakwa Abiodun, has reiterated the move to move away from an oil-dependent economy to an agricultural sufficient one for the all-round development of the Nigerian economy. Governor Abiodun, who made this known while declaring open the 12th Gateway International Trade Fair themed Energy and Agriculture, a panacea to economic and sustainable multi-sectoral growth, Ogun Pathway to Economic Prosperity, emphasized that it had now become pivotal to national growth. Represented by his deputy, Engineer Noimot Salako Oyedele, Governor Abiodun said, for instance, in the state, the Ministry of Agriculture was constantly working with farmers towards increasing their yields in a bid to increase productivity while partnering the federal government and African Development Bank in developing agro-processing schools across the state. He added that the creation of an agro-cargo airport in the state, the first of its kind in Nigeria, revealed that the project is aimed at changing the entire business landscape across Ogun State and create at least 20,000 direct jobs in its first year of operation. While stressing the importance of trade fairs to include an avenue for expansion of trade, promotions of economic diversification, which he said cannot be emphasized, he added that it proves as a verification platform for business owners to display their goods and services to the world.
To mainstream trade, we have development strategy in line with the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, not only to stimulate economic growth, but also to tackle infrastructural challenges, poverty, and high unemployment, to come up with proactive strategies that will reposition our economy and reduce our dependence on imports. In this regard, while we work on improving international trade and having new trading partners, we must deepen domestic trade as well as regional trade. We must also ensure that we move away from the culture of exporting raw materials to the culture of exporting finished goods, as this is the only tool we have towards creating the much-needed jobs for our teeming youth in the country.
In her remarks, Commissioner for Industry, Trade and Investment, Mrs. Kikela Molunge, appreciated the state government, organizing committee members and corporate bodies who have contributed to the hosting of this year's edition, saying the importance of agriculture and raw materials to industries cannot be underestimated, which informed the governor's decision to invest meaningfully to improve the sectors. The chairman, Ogunsima Board of Directors and past president, Nasima Iyalode Alaba-Lawson, while giving her remarks, thanked the present administration in the state for its unflinching support and investment in the sector. Highlights of the event was the presentation of a kiosk and checks to 4 beneficiaries to assist them in their businesses. 8 Rotary clubs in Abeokuta have organized its annual Peace Dialogue, the third of its kind in commemoration of Rotary Peace Building and Conflict Prevention Resolution Month, which hosted stakeholders who discussed how to achieve peace as well as a credible, free and fair election and the forthcoming general elections. Ogun State Resident Electoral Commissioner for the Independent National Electoral Commission, Niyi Jalaye, called for active yet peaceful involvement of all Nigerians. Margaret Okunlola was at the Valley View Government House in Salegbe, Abeokuta. Her reports.
With the theme Peace Building and Conflict Prevention, the 3rd edition of the Peace Dialogue series, a community event and knowledge networking conversation designed to promote peace, organized by 8 clubs of Rotary Club in Abeokuta, this time with focus on the prevalent topic in the country, 2023 general elections. My role as a stakeholder, the president of Rotary Club of Abeokuta Metropolitan, Rotarian Babatunde Aremu, said the Rotary Club is generally known as Preacher of Peace, and the event is a commemoration of the month of February.
In Rotary, the month of February is themed Peace Building and Conflict Prevention, and we always talk and dialogue about the pressing issues as it happens in our society.
The Ogun State Resident Electoral Commissioner of Independence National Electoral Commission, Niyi Jalaye, who doubles as the lead discussant, implored Nigerians to be mindful of the fact that the world will be watching the democratic exercise. Therefore, everyone is a stakeholder at ensuring a peaceful electioneering process.
We must come out on the 25th and 11th and conduct ourselves peacefully during the elections. And we expect people to vote for people of their choice. We must abhor violence of any nature.
Representatives and heads of various bodies from both private and public sector, as well as security agencies in the state, charged all stakeholders to adhere strictly to their various roles as stated in provisions of the Electoral Act 2022 guidelines and the Peace Accord. Being a dialogue, there was question and answer session as well as comment session to drive home the point that the stakeholders present have a voice.
It has been a fruitful one because it bridges the gap between the citizenry and the security outfit.
The enlightenment and everything they've said has added to my knowledge, and at least I can tell or preach it to anybody around me.
It's a continuous exercise. We want this election to be calm.
Awards of recognition were presented to various organizations in attendance. Margaret Okunola, OGTV News.
And still ahead, Human Rights Commission inaugurates special independent investigative panel to get men and women have been empowered by the All Progressive Congress senatorial candidate for Ogun West, Solomon Olamilekun Adiola. The empowerment program in form of financial support had market representatives from the 5 local governments in Ogun West. Ayodeji Oluwumi reports.
The All Progressive Congress senatorial candidate for Ogun West, Senator Solomon Olamilekun Adiola, has empowered over 5,000 market men and women drawn from the 5 local governments of the senatorial districts. Royal fathers, political leaders, government officials, market leaders, as well as APC candidates present at the event commended Senator Adiola for the initiative.
To me, it's a very, very good outing, very supportive of APC's cause in Ogun West and in Ogun State in general.
Ogun West as a whole has never had it so good like this. He has empowered his people more than expectation too.
What he is doing today is a landmark history in any political time for the market women.
Politics is about empowerment. And I have no doubt in my mind that Yayi is taking Ogun West to another level.
The Market Men and Women Association of Nigeria will stand shoulder to shoulder with our incoming senator, Yayi.
The governor has been doing this kind of initiative through his Okowo Dapo too. So this is just one of the ways to complement the Okowo Dapo and make sure that APC, our people know that yes, this government is a government by the people, for the people, and everybody will have a good time.
The man of the moment, Senator Solomon Olamilekun Adiola, promised adequate, fair, and solid representation of the district at the National Assembly if given the opportunity to serve, as he also canvasses for votes for all APC candidates.
So continued support for our great party, the APC, we only bring more and more development to Nigeria, to Ogun State and Ogun West by extension. So using this opportunity to call on all market men and women in Ogun West Senatorial District to come out en masse and vote for APC.
The beneficiaries were later empowered financially by Senator Solomon Olamilekun Adiola. Ayodeji Oluwumi, OGTV News.
Candidates of the All Progressive Congress APC for Ogun Central Senatorial District, Alhaji Shuaib Afolabi Salisu, has given the assurance to sustain his connection with the grassroots and carry the people along in the representation of his district at the Senate as the party canvassers were inaugurated for the zone. The inauguration ceremony held at the June 12 Cultural Center, Kuto, Abeokuta, was witnessed by the senatorial chairman of APC in Ogun Central, chieftains and leaders of the party. Matthew Shomi reports.
As the senatorial election campaign of the All Progressive Congress in Ogun Central continues to gather momentum and the message of quality representation at the Red Chamber spread across, Alhaji Shuaib Afolabi Salisu is here asking APC canvassers for the senatorial election to take the message to the doorsteps of the people as they were being inaugurated. Alhaji Salisu described the inauguration as a watershed in the history of good representation of the senatorial zone, as the canvassers are getting set to become part of history, urging them not to limit the campaign to his candidature, but also carry the message of other candidates of the party to the people.
APC is a grassroots party. I am a grassroots politician and I intend to represent the people. So, and a part of that process is to build bottom up, and that's why we have appointed these canvassers to work for all APC candidates, to bring our programs down to the grassroots and explain to them on one-on-one basis. There's no way a candidate can go around and meet all the potential voters.
The Ogun Central senatorial candidate added that the canvassers will now serve as the eyes and ears of the party at the grassroots and encourage them to focus on the message of what the party is offering to the people of the district.
It's not just to sell the candidacy, it also serves as a feedback mechanism for us, and to also ensure that by the grace of God, when we're elected, this set of people can identify the needs of their respective local. So it's not just for votes catching, it's not just to win the election. We are building a structure to connect down to the grassroots, even after the election.
Director General of the senatorial campaign, Honorable Babatunde Adesina, advised the canvassers to see the task before them as their own contributions to the success of the party.
They have to go from house to house, they have to go from door to door to canvass the voters for the presidential election, for the senatorial election, for the House of Rep election, for the governorship election, and for the House of Assembly election. At the end of the day, APC will become victorious.
Senatorial chairman of APC in Ogun Central, Chief Fonwola Abiola, and other leaders of the party encouraged the people to give their best in doing the job. The campaign materials were thereafter distributed to the people. Matthew Showumi, OGTV News.
The National Human Rights Commission, NHRC, has inaugurated a special independent investigative panel to probe the human rights violations allegations leveled against the military overseeing the Northeast counterinsurgency operations. This is following the widespread three-part report published last December by a foreign media organization, Reuters, which implicated the Nigerian military in grievous human rights violations. Reuters had reported that in the last 10 years, the Nigerian military was involved in secret abortions of many pregnancies in the Northeast, infanticide, and other forms of sexual and gender-based violence acts. Last week, the Executive Secretary of the Commission, Tony Ojukwu, had named a 7-member panel chaired by former Supreme Court Judge Justice Abdul Aboki to look into the case. During the inaugural event on Tuesday, Ojukwu said the National Human Rights Commission has invoked its inherent express and incidental powers as contained in Sections 5 and 6 of the National Human Rights Commission Act as amended to constitute a special independent investigative panel. The panel, according to Ojukwu, would look into the reports and determine the culpability of individuals and institutions involved and thereafter make appropriate recommendations. The Inspector General of Police, IGP Usman Alkali Baba, has ordered the posting, redeployment of Deputy Inspectors General of Police, Assistant Inspectors General of Police, and Commissioners of Police to departments, commands, and formations in line with his manpower development policy of placing round pegs in round holes. In a statement in Abuja by the first Public Relations Officer, CSP Olumiwa Adejobi, DIG Dan Malam Mohammed has been redeployed to the Department of Finance and Administration, with Assistant Inspectors General of Police posted to take up the duties and responsibilities of the Deputy Inspectors General of Police. They are DIG Department of Training and Development, AIG Afiz M. Inoua, DIG Research Department of Research and Planning, AIG RG A. Janga, DIG Department of Operations, AIG Adeleke A. Bode, AIG Abu Sani Amadu has been posted as First Secretary, while AIG Shuaye Lafia Abdul Yari assumes office as the AIG in charge of the Force Intelligence Bureau, Force Headquarters, Abuja. Similarly, the following senior police officers have been posted to also take up the duties and responsibilities of the Assistant Inspectors General of Police in charge of zonal police commands. They are AIG Police Mobile Force, CP Matthew Akinyosola, AIG Zone 6 Calabar, CP Jonathan Tewuru, AIG Zone 2 Lagos, CP Sylvester Alabi, AIG Zone 2 Oshobo, CP Akonde Sikiru Kayode, and AIG Zone 11 Akure, CP Abimbola Adebola Shokoya. In line with the IGP's mandate and strategies to strengthen the operational structures of state commands, the police boss has equally ordered the provisional posting of commissioners of police to commands indicated, pending the approval of the Police Service Commission. CP Adamawa State, CP Adebola A. Amzat, CP Ogun State, Frank Mba, CP Taraba State, Sulaiman Yusuf, Lagos State, CP Idowu Omonwa, and Ebonyi State, CP Falaye Olaleye. The IGP charged the newly posted officers to hit the ground running to ensure the mission, vision, and policy statements of his administration are effectively complied with in the areas of crime fighting, public cooperation, and safety. He also called for support and cooperation from members of the public to enable the newly posted senior officers to perform optimally on their mandate. The posting is with immediate effect. The annual Lishabi Day celebration by sons and daughters of Egbaland, home and abroad, for the year 2023 will begin on the 13th through the 19th of February 2023. The Alake and paramount ruler of Egbaland, Oba Adedotun Aremu Gbadibo, made the pronouncement while briefing the press at his palace on the activities lined up for the week-long ceremony. Elizabeth Esson reports.
Lishabi Festival Celebration is an annual event observed by the Egbas to celebrate a warrior and an hero, Lishabi Agbongu Akala, for his bravery and also to showcase the rich culture and tradition of the people of Egba. This year's celebration, according to the Chairman Planning Committee, retired Navy Captain Rashid Raji, has as its theme promoting parental responsibility as a panacea towards better children and youth development in Egbaland.
I'm happy to say that the unity that our forefathers, including all the present urbans, have been anticipating and trying to foster, I'm sure is coming to reality. Because this year's event, I'm happy to say that virtually all the sections of the bank are taking part in this year's festival ceremonies.
While briefing press on the activities lined up for this year's celebration, the Alake and paramount ruler of Egbaland, Oba Adedotun Aremu Gbadibo, confirmed that the celebration, among other things, will create avenue for the exposure of the rich potentials of Egbaland to qualitative investors and tourists locally and internationally.
It is globally acknowledged that the Egbas have something unique in various ways. This has been over several decades. We have evolved and attracted global attention, acceptance, and appreciation. This ranges from traditional, political, social, cultural, tourism, are still professionals, legends in various fields of human endeavors.
The ceremony, according to the monarch, will be heralded by booming of guns at the Oluma Rock, followed by carnival's procession and mobilization, quiz competition, football competition, traditional wrestling, drama competition, children's social program, exhibitions, cultural display, amongst others. Elizabeth Esson, OGTV News.
It's time to bring you business news, and Simiat Abaru is our guide.
You're welcome to the business segment of the news. Nigeria lost a total of 500 billion naira in revenue in January as a result of low crude oil production, according to findings. Shipping data obtained from Phoenix Icon, a company that tracks export flows, showed that the country's production was yet to fully recover as it exported 1.2 million barrels per day as against the 1.6 million barrels per day quota assigned to it by the Organization for the Petroleum Exporting Countries. An export of 1.2 million brings January's total export to 37.2 million barrels as against 49.6 million expected if it had exported 1.6 million barrels per day. Nigeria's crude grade Bonny Light sold for $89 per barrel in January above Brent International, which was sold for $88 per barrel. The African airlines have recorded a 1.4% fall in cargo demand year-on-year, according to the International Air Transport Association's analysis of the global air cargo industry for 2022. Air cargo demand is a useful barometer of global and regional trade. During the 2022 full year, African airlines reported a 1.4% decline in demand compared to 2021. African airlines also reported a 10% decrease in cargo demand and a 1.3% increase in cargo capacity. Measured by cargo ton kilometers flown, by the end of 2022, Africa's airlines held 2% of the global market, according to the report. Over 50% of point-of-sale operators have closed their shops as scarcity of new and old Naira note bite harder. The National Chief Aggregating Officer of the Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria, Hussein Olariwaju, who made this disclosure, said the impact of the ongoing shortage of new and old Naira note had worsened the plight of their members. While noting that agents should be given preferential treatment and access to the new note, he lamented that some Nigerians are taking advantage of the situation to charge unreasonable fees. And finally, the federal government has spent 612.56 billion naira raised through sovereign sukuk between 2017 and 2021 for the construction and rehabilitation of 77 road projects and 33 bridges. This was disclosed by the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Dr. Zainab Ahmed, at the symbolic check presentation ceremony of the 2022 Sovereign Sukuk issued proceeds of 130 billion naira to the Ministry of Works and Housing and the Federal Capital Territory Administration. According to the minister, while 71 road projects and 4 bridges were under the purview of the Ministry of Works and Housing, 6 road projects and 19 bridges were handled by the FCT. And that's the end of the business news. Many thanks for watching. Back to Muchisola for the segment of the news. Bye for now.